Hello and welcome to the Character Animation series. In this series, I'll teach you the basics of character animation. This series is most suited to beginners who already have a familiarity with 3D software. The series will mostly benefit Blender users, however, if you use any other 3D software, you should be able to follow along quite well, especially for the first few videos. I'll try my best to explain it as easy as possible without any of that jargon and technical stuff. And if you do manage to follow along, by the end of this series, you will have the skills to create realistic and believable character animations. In this video, I'll start right from the beginning and give you a bit of that essential theory that will help you develop awesome animations with the 12 principles of character animation. So the 12 principles of character animation were defined by Frank Thomas and Ollie Johnston in their book Illusion of Life, Disney Animation. And by applying these principles in your own work, you can almost guarantee that your character animations will look both realistic and believable. And having said that, this is probably something I probably should do more of in my own work. So here are the 12 principles of character animation. You don't need to memorize all of these principles, and realistically, the more character animation you do, the more intuitively you'll be using these principles when animating. I remember personally when starting out, I would try my best to memorize all of these principles. Well, they end up being useless. That, or I'm just plain lazy. But yeah, you'll eventually use these principles in your own animations and throughout this series. I will be pointing out the use of these principles anyway, so don't worry about it too much. Just know that these principles work in giving realistic and believable character animations that looks appealing to the eye, because, well, Disney did it. Let's get straight into the first principle, squash and stretch. Squash and stretch involves giving the object weight and volume by squashing or stretching. The more extreme the squash or stretch, the more cartoony it looks. Here is an animation of a ball that I created in 5 minutes, and I'll be creating a tutorial on this in another video. Here you can see that I squashed the ball to almost abusive levels when it impacts the ground, and I stretched the ball as it lands and as well as when it bounces to its maximum height. So this helps in giving that cartoony look. The second one is anticipation. Anticipation is the action that occurs prior to the main action. For example, winding up to throw a baseball or a cricket ball, or bending down before a jump. In this case, I squashed the same ball again to indicate that it is getting ready to jump, or bounce? Jump. And thus looks better compared to having the ball just move up without any form of anticipation. If there were no anticipation in this at all, it would just look a little bit odd. 3. Staging. In staging, you need to ensure that the pose and scene conveys the idea and story clearly to the audience. So things like, is the character's expression clear that she's shocked? Is the camera's angle set up properly? You don't want a camera angle with a close-up of some rock when your character is getting shot by an asteroid. So avoid elements that are likely to confuse the audience. Make sure that in your scene, your character stands out and not the background elements. This is actually an image from my own movie, and I used depth of field to focus on the characters, as I wanted the audience to focus on the characters only and not on anyone or anything else. It would have been strange if the house in the background or the fence in the background was in focus and not the main characters. So that's staging. Number 4 is straight ahead and pose-to-pose animation. In straight ahead animation, you animate frame by frame till the end. This is great for spontaneity, but it can be quite boring. Pose to pose is where certain poses at certain times which you're sure of are created, and you later fill in those missing frames. This is much better for planned animation, and is perfect for lazy people, just like myself. In computer-generated character animation, you generally have to switch between both and mix it up. I'll be describing this in more detail in the next video. In follow-through overlapping action, follow-through is the action that comes after the main action. Certain parts of the body continue to move even when the main action stops. In overlapping action, certain parts of the body drag behind the main action. So this example shows it quite well. I again lazily animated this strange little dude in 5 minutes. Here you notice that when the body moves, the head drags back, and you can tell that the head sort of prefers to stay at its original location before moving. Same with the legs. So this is an example of follow through. Then the head, not follow through, overlapping action. After the overlapping action, the head and feet follow through and catches up with the body even when the body has stopped. I know, this guy really seems to be in another world. Number 6 is slow in and slow out. In slow in, slow out, your animation needs to slow down at the beginning and at the end of a main action for more realism. For example, a bouncing ball that slows down as it reaches its maximum height. In this example that I showed here right now, it might not be clear, but his arms is actually slowly accelerating at the beginning and then it decelerates when it stops. It tends to look fake when your animation just suddenly stops abruptly, or even suddenly starts abruptly. The only time that this is okay is if the character collides or impacts with something. Here's another example which shows it better, the bouncing ball again. There are more drawings at the impact of the ball, which indicates, and also at the maximum height, which means that the ball is actually slower in that area. When there is less drawings, such as in the middle of those drawings, it is going pretty fast. Number 7, arcs. All parts of the body needs to move in the shape of an arc for believability and realism. For example, the legs, the hands, and the body. In fact, organic objects move in arc shapes, and mechanical objects are the only exception. Mechanical objects are the only objects that move in straight lines. Characters tend to look fake and robotic if parts of their body move in straight lines only. That was actually a problem with newer animators doing that. They tend to make body parts move in straight lines, and it tends to look a bit fake. Number 8 is secondary action. Secondary actions are actions that complement the main action. So for example, with someone running late for work, the main action might be their legs moving frantically, while the secondary action could be their clenching, the shaking of their hands in desperation, or checking their time constantly. In this example of a pony by Pacific Penguin from DeviantArt, the main action of the pony is the moving legs, while the secondary action is the bobbing head and even the tail and hair. Number 9, timing. Animations need to be timed correctly, or else it would just look plain odd. For example, a character that responds before another character has even asked a question, or a character that reacts too late to a punch to the face. Even subtle mistakes in timing can lose viewer interest or even lose the definition of the object. And what I mean by that is, for example, I created 3 equal-sized spheres. The spheres were simply created by duplicating each of those spheres. But I changed the timing on each of them, and suddenly it appears that each of them have a different weight. So you obviously see that you need to get the timing correct in your animation, or else your viewers will think, what did I just watch? And you really don't know how to respond. With character animation, taking reference videos really helps in creating believable timing, and thus believable animation. Number 10 is exaggeration. So here is a fact. Realistic animation looks dull and boring. If you wanted to create animation that's so realistic and accurate to the real world, you're much better off making a live action film, not animation. Exaggeration works better in animation. It tends to look more lively and watchable. The more cartoony your animations, the more exaggeration you should incorporate. And the more photorealistic your animation, the more realistic you should go for. But some subtle exaggeration is still required. For example, in the film Avatar, animators would also go in and exaggerate certain actions even though they were mo-capped. Because the motion-capped versions don't really look that good, to be honest. Unless you're a Jim Carrey or someone like that. Number 11, solid drawing. This means that you should be a good drawer. Drawist. Draw master. And anyway, drawing the character well and scene well in terms of 3D space, light, shadow, anatomy, etc. Luckily, this doesn't really apply to 3D character animation and certainly won't really apply throughout this series, but learning the skills of good drawing certainly doesn't hurt. If you are a good draw master, you'll find creating storyboards and planning animation much easier than the rest of us. And by us, I probably mean just me. The final one, 12, appeal. And this is the final principle as well. This means that, does your character actually look good? Nice characters tends to look heroic, attractive, cute, etc. Whereas evil characters, they look rough, menacing, angry, and so on. Taking the time to develop appealing characters can help viewers relate better to your story. Here's an example of an unappealing character. His name is Theven. This was a character I made for my first film. Not really a proud moment for me. No, I'm kidding. It was, for some reason, I feel proud about this. And that's it. Use these principles in your own character animations, and you can almost guarantee that it will give you realistic, believable, and appealing character animation. Most of these principles apply well for 3D animation as well, even though they were probably made for cartoons. Throughout this series, we'll be using these principles, and I'll be showing you step by step how exactly I did it using the 3D software Blender. And I hope you find this video helpful in learning about the principles of character animation. In the next video, I'll be discussing pose-to-pose versus straight-ahead in detail, and I'll start to get into Blender a little bit. Please let me know your thoughts, feedback, and so on in the comments below. This can help me give better tutorials next time. Also, please subscribe, like, and all that other stuff. It will be greatly appreciated. Thanks for watching.